Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, everyone, and welcome to Facebook, welcome to Instagram. Sometimes you will see my eyes switching because I'm going from one screen to another. Okay, that's the only difference, okay? But other than that, I am so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be with you, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm so glad to present you the second session of the Pyramid of Consciousness. So let me just make sure I am in the right place in Facebook. Yes. So I can see your comments because I know sometimes you have, now most of the people watch me in recording. I know that's what people tell me. But at this point, just want to make sure that you can see me. Excellent. Again, welcome, welcome. For those of you who are joining me for the very first time, who just wandered into my channel, into my live, my name is Lana. Shalom. I'm a certified Neurographic instructor. I'm a certified trainer for psychology of money, the Kesef game, the Kesef program. I am currently learning many other quite interesting, quite phenomenal programs that I'm planning to bring to you. I am glad to be here. Hello, hello, Michelle. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to start telling you today about an amazing, amazing pyramid of consciousness. The pyramid of consciousness is one of the integral parts of learning Neurographica. So if you are interested in other starting to learn Neurographica, or maybe you already learned and you want to learn more and more, because FYI, it's addictive. Okay, those of you who know what I'm talking about, you're welcome to comment. Yes, we know it's very addictive. Once you start, you can't stop. Okay, so that's what it is. And I am here to start telling you Neurographica. What's the connection? We discussed at one moment. There's an open video on my profile, on my YouTube channel. You can see it. We discussed at one moment the connection between Neurographica, one second, something got stuck. Neurographica with the pyramid of consciousness. Now, what is the pyramid of consciousness? Some people will say, I heard about Neurographica. I know it's some kind of drawing, some kind of lines, you know. Some people saw the neuro art, right? I will actually maybe make a session, okay, after I finish the series of Pyramid of Consciousness. My topic, one of the topics, and a lot of people ask, what's the difference between neuro art and Neurographic, okay? So let's go into it. By the way, if you have any other topics you're interested in discussing, do me a favor, you can write me in PM, you can comment under the video, anything. Yeah, it's, there you go, Michelle, totally right. It's super addictive, right? And the interesting part, not just the drawing part, but learning more and more about it, right? I'm right now at the Institute for Psychology of Creativity, and I am going yet for another degree, right? I'm going higher, neurodesign, where I'm bringing other instruments that Pavel created. And again, of course, everything will be connected with Neurographica because, hey, who doesn't love Neurographica, right? Isn't it one of the most amazing, amazing instruments? So Pavel created the pyramid of consciousness, okay? Those of you on Facebook, you will see it now on your screen. Those of you on Instagram, how about I'll just hold it up for you, okay? like this. This is the pyramid of consciousness. We have discussed the first part, the very top. Okay, and this is the interesting part. I'm going to show you something very interesting today about the pyramid of consciousness. Okay, so history, a bit of history before I start drawing, and I want to show you something very interesting. But Pavel created the pyramid of consciousness quite a long time ago, like 10 years, maybe more, as part of his, work at the PhD program that he was enrolled at the moment, in psychology and everything else. Now Pavel is a curator. He's one of the deans at the PhD program in one of the high universities in Russia. And I'm actually enrolled in a PhD program in that institute, and it's very exciting, let me tell you. But the interesting part, Pavel created this pyramid of consciousness as a development, right? We all heard about the kind, not, it wasn't a pyramid, but there was a kind of structure of consciousness that Carl Gustav Jung created in one moment. It's very interesting. I wanted to, the moment when Jung created it, it was like poof, breakthrough, right? Again, his development was based on what Freud suggested in one moment, right? When, the father of psychology came up with this idea that the brain, human beings have different personalities. There's id, there is self, there is ego, right? And all of that, right? And Jung went a little bit further. He said, let's explore the consciousness much further, right? And we all heard about it. I'm going to find it next time for your presentation, guys. But we heard about it. It has consciousness and consciousness. It has ego. So it has anima and animus, right? It has the shadow, an amazing, amazing work, right? Pavel went a bit further. He said, let's take that pyramid of consciousness and go even further. He's not talking much about shadows, right? If you see on the pyramid, there is not much talk about shadow, not much. The word much is of course, shadow always presents, any work of consciousness, any idea, any book we read on consciousness, we cannot, we cannot kind of not see that there is always some kind of shadow. There's something always, reflective, like a shadow reflective, right? A dark reflective part. But again, within the pyramid of consciousness, we don't focus on that. Our focus on something else. Our focus is, and there's the main part, how to get to the drive. Do you see this biggest part of the pyramid, the bottom? How to get to the drive, okay? How to get to this part where it's a drive, it's the self, it's, I like to call it the soul, right? This is where, look at so many, those of you on Facebook, it's over here. Look at all of those words I wrote here. Drive, absolute, self, individuation, paradise, soul, eternity, past, present, and future, right? The goal is to get there. And the amazing part, Pavel created this map for us so we know where we're going, guys. If I'm asking you tomorrow, where are you going? You need to have a destination. Same thing here. What is your destination? When you work with Neurographica, you can tell me your topic. We discussed it last time, right? Last time, that's exactly what we discussed. Every time we start, we turn on the engine in the car, whether we need a GPS or not, we need the destination, right? If you start going, my husband, he drives everywhere with a GPS, in places he knows, right? And that's like a work of habit, right? That's a kind of a thing he has, like he just enjoys it, why not? So you have to put the destination. Otherwise, the GPS will not know where to take you. Same thing with Neurographica. Neurographica, as much as it is a beautiful, beautiful work of art, and some people will argue that it's, just the work of art. I am here to tell you, Neurographica is actually a work of psychology, coaching, whatever other similar term you want to bring. Yes, art is very essential, but it's essential as an aesthetic part, okay? The beauty part, right? And we all know beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, okay? So definitely, sometimes people ask me, do you find my picture beautiful? What do you think about my picture? What can you tell me? Or I love when people tell me, can you interpret my Neurographic picture? And I tell them I can't interpret. If you're in my course, I can give you a supervision according to the 7 steps, whether it was done according to the rules. I don't interpret. That's not my picture. I can interpret my pictures, what means what, which resource refers to what, and how do I see the combination of them. I can't interpret anybody else's work. That's not ethical. That's not aesthetical, right? That's not my work of art. And yes, sometimes I look at the work and I think it's so beautiful. And sometimes I look and say, I don't fully understand it. But you know what, one way or another, the important thing is for an author, the person who's creating the work of art, to be able to enjoy it and to love their creation. And that's the main idea, okay? That's how you get to the drive, okay? But again, we're talking about the aesthetic part, right? What about the part of the brain? What about this transformation that takes place that we are, which is one of the main reasons, right? If we just want a work of art, we can just buy one of those books. I actually didn't like them so much. I tend to be frustrated with those mandala books where you get to color each piece. Drove me crazy. I don't have so much patience, right? But the interesting part with Neurographic is actual transformation. While you create the picture, you are transforming yourself. And this is what, when people first hear it, they're like, how do you transform yourself? Is this art therapy? And, it's sometimes I say just yes, because that's easier to just say yes. And then if people are interested more, I explain how different it is from regular art therapy. But the idea here is to fully understand that it is the transformation of various, reactions, instincts, changes within all 4 of your worlds. Those of you who are watching my videos know the worlds already, right? We have 4 worlds we exist in: the physical world, the emotional, the mental, and of course the spiritual, the soul, right? And when we start our work in Neurographica, this is the interesting part. We tend to go through all 4 worlds. We tend to focus. We tend to bring transformation into all 4 worlds, okay? So it's not just neuro art. And I can just tell you, it's just psychology. It is not just psychology. The work, the transformation occurs in all levels. And here's where, again, I'm inviting you to start looking at the pyramid of consciousness. Those of you on Instagram, I'm going to change my camera, okay? I want you to be able to see the illustration on my table. Those of you on Facebook, you can see the illustration on the presentation, right? Today, we are concerned with the second layer, okay? It's interesting. I'm going to show you something very interesting now, but at this point, start noticing. Actually, let me do it on the paper now. Give me a second, those of you on Facebook. I'm just going to transfer my camera to my table so you can see something very interesting. I'm going to illustrate something to you. There you go. Okay. Here you go. Okay. There you go. Okay. So let's discuss this, okay? This is the pyramid. I have 2 of them that I found, the recent ones. I actually have more than 2, but this is what I found, the recent ones, right? This was the one I drew about a month ago as I was preparing as a preparation for the basics course, which, by the way, those of you who are interested in starting to gain understanding and fully, realization of how to draw Neurographica, we are starting the basics course this coming Sunday. Okay, it's me, Lana, Shalom, and my wonderful, beautiful partner, Margarita Miller. Margarita lives in London. I live in Florida, USA. So we're partnering up and we're bringing this amazing Neurographica program. So if you're interested in learning how to draw Neurographica and learning more amazing background secrets about this wonderful method, definitely PM me and I will give you information how to register, okay? So what is the pyramid? It's interesting to know that in both cases, right, the pyramid we're starting is on top, okay? The pyramid we're starting is on top. We start with an active consciousness. We discussed it on Tuesday. That was a topic. Today we're discussing the operational consciousness. And that's when we start the composition. But I want to discuss with you what is an operational consciousness. And this is the interesting part I would like to bring to you now, okay? If you noticed, all of you have noticed that my pyramids have started at the top. And one of my very insightful students once said to me, Lana, why are we starting on the top? Don't we climb up from the bottom? And I wanted to show this interesting, and I was talking to her, and this is what I want to show you. The pyramid is accessible. Okay, this is what I want to leave you with. Two ways, okay? You can start your journey. You can start learning about the pyramid the way I usually do, because that's one way Pavel shows us how to do the pyramid, right? Is to climb from we start on the top and then we go down, okay? And I'll explain to you the difference. But also there is a way to do this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. Second, let me just count. Yeah, it's approximately like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Ever since I learned the neurostructuring, I have a need to draw with like a motor ruler. You know, I have this need to be super like structured. Okay. So I stopped drawing the pyramid with the, just from the hand. I actually started enjoying drawing with a ruler and everything, the magic of neurostructuring course. Okay. Okay. I think this is it. Yeah. 3, 4, 5, and this will be 6. Yes. Okay. So we usually start on top because the goal is to get to the drive. And why? Look at the drive. The drive is huge. This is the way to show you how the mind works, okay? How the human mind works if we're looking at it from the point of the destination, okay? The destination is that we are over here, we're in the mind, and it also has to do with the fact that the mind, okay, the conscious mind, right? The active consciousness and the operational consciousness really occupies 10 to 12% of the whole mind. And this is to show you that our active conscious is really the tip of the iceberg. Okay, that's the reason why we illustrate it like this. However, I want to show you that there is a different way to show you how to illustrate the active mind, right? And in this case, look, I'm going to divide it here. And in this case, look, the active conscious mind, right, will be on the bottom here, okay? Conscious, right? Mind, okay? And then, of course, on the bottom, the huge part of the triangle will be the active conscious, right? Active consciousness, what we discussed with you last week, right? When we decide what is occupying my mind right now, what am I focusing, right? I gave you the details, like how do you figure out what can be in your active consciousness? 1 second, I just realized okay, good, I'm here. What could be on your, 1 second, everybody. Excellent. Okay. What could be on my mind, right? I showed you what questions you can ask, what practical exercise you can do to figure out what would be your topic. The second part would be what we're saying, operational consciousness, right? And this part is our reactions, right? Reactions. Okay, if in the first part is what is on my mind, right? Or if we talk simply, it would be what is bothering me, right? Right? you don't go to a coach or a therapist to just chat, right? Sometimes you do for your friends with a therapist, but most of the time it's to discuss whatever issue you have. You need to find a solution, right? So in order to find a solution, you ask yourself, what is bothering me? What is the problem? What is the issue? The second part will be the reaction, okay? And here is where we're going to talk about, what is your reaction, okay? If you are telling me, you figure out your topic is, let's say, to buy a car, and I'm going to tell you, what is your reaction, right? Whatever active consciousness, whatever we look around ourselves, right? That's what we did last time. We looked around ourselves and saw what's in our environment, what's in our surrounding. I'm looking at my table. I have a bottle of water, right? I have a certain pen that I received as a present as I went to like a bat mitzvah to one of the friend of mine, her daughter, right? I have markers, different types of markers. I want to tell you, each one of this marker will have a different reaction. I will have a different memory, a different association, a different understanding, a different story to tell you about each single one of this marker. And that's the reaction, okay? What is your association? What's triggering you? Whatever triggers you in the active consciousness, right? Let's say the marker in this case, the answer, there will always be a reaction, guys. This is called being alive. When you are alive, you have a reaction, right? When people are in the state of not being able to understand their reaction, let's say when they're shocked or something, right? When people are in the state when they're not able to understand, do they have a right to react to something, right? They don't have a reaction. They suppress themselves, or they hold themselves back, or they're in the moment where you just don't feel anything, right? I do that sometimes in my when I work with clients sometimes tell me, I don't know what I feel, or I don't know what I think, right? When I do the reflection process, I tell them, what's your thoughts, what's your emotion, what's your body sensation. Sometimes people don't know their body sensations, right? For me, the hardest part, by the way, was connecting to my body, right? Emotions were very strong for me, right? I'm an emotional person, right? Those of you in my course, I love using the wheel of emotions, with the array of emotions, right? When I remember bringing it into my practice 2 years ago, when I discovered and started using it, people were amazed. They looked at the wheel and they're like, emotions? You can have so many emotions? I will bring to you the wheel of emotions one session, okay? I should make a list of everything I'm telling you I'm going to bring to you, because later on I tend to forget, and I'm like, what should I make my session about, right? Wheel of emotions and something else I said, right? Neuro art and Neurographica difference, right? So it's so interesting. Same thing here. What are your reactions? So my question would be, what is operational consciousness? How do you figure out the reaction? How do you measure what is the qualitative and quantitative way to figure out the reaction of a person? Is it just if somebody says, oh, is that a reaction? So let's figure this out, right? Let's figure it out this way. Look at this. The reaction can go in 5 senses, okay? We have this amazing tool that we are as human beings possess. We have 5 senses, right? My background is early education, and I remember this is so fundamental, right, guys? In daycares, in nurseries, forget about daycare, it's infant, the baby is born. The very first thing you're concerned with is the sensorial, the sensories, the senses. How does the child react? Does the child have a reaction? Does the child have a sensory reaction? What are the senses, right? And these are the 5 human senses that are extremely fundamental. And we want to make sure that for you, I want to be able to, for you guys to understand that operational consciousness has to do with 5 senses. The way we react, the way we feel, the way we live in this world, right? What are our senses? We have eyes for sight, right? Nose for smell, ears for listening, right? The sense of hearing, right? Hearing, right? Mouth for tasting, right? Later on in life, as we are adults, we start learning that mouth is not just for tasting. Mouth is also for talking. Yes, there is a certain sensorial connection with the talking, right? And of course, the last part we have, but definitely not least, especially as we do Neurographica, is the sense of touching. And the interesting part, I usually explain touching with the hands, but we know touching is your whole body, right? Interesting to start noticing, right, that all of the senses are developed, right? Again, developmentally talking about as an infant development, right? The very first thing, the very first thing we have is a touch. As soon as the baby is born, the baby is given into the mother's arms, right? Nowadays, they wonderfully do this practice, right? With each child I gave birth to, I noticed the last child, it was the most perfect. As soon as the baby was born, she just gave her to me. And it was so amazing. They didn't have to wash her. They didn't have to do no. And I was so happy because that moment, I remember studying how important it is to right away have this connection, you know, body to body, touch to touch connection with this newborn baby, because that's what the newborn baby is used to, right? I recently was talking about it like a week or two ago, discussing with one of my students the book The Giver, right? When they discuss how the baby is born there, the baby is just taken and put away. The baby doesn't know the mother doesn't know the baby. It was, I remember, was so like, it struck me like, how do you do this? And then I remember that's what it used to be like, you know, but when I was born, that's what it was practiced like. I know in Soviet Union, I think all over the world, right? The baby is born, they take the baby, they need to wash it, they need to do all the procedures, they need to, you know, do the tests and stuff. And only I think like maybe a day, they allow the mother to rest, you know, they think about the mother separately, they think about the baby, but they never think about this connection. The mother and the baby need to be together. And the more psychologists, more developmental neurologists have discovered, you know, doctors, you know, pediatrics doctors, they said that the touch is very important, right? So the children are born and the very first thing they do is touch, okay? So touching, as I touch this marker, I have a certain reaction. It would be different than me not touching the marker, right? Again, your reactions depend on your, number one, always start active consciousness. You do something active, you take it and you put it here, right? And then you touch it, right? The first thing I do is thinking about taking the marker, then I touch it, I pick it up and I put it here. It's operational. I do some kind of operation. And then I start reacting through the senses, right? I want to bring the sense of sight, right? When the very first thing the baby is born, what do? I remember myself buying those baby Einstein mobiles. The mobiles are made in colors that mostly recognize, and not just recognize, but develops the baby's eyesight, the black and red, black and white, the contrast, and the color red. It's so amazing. Again, talking about the book, The Giver, I remember discussing it again with a friend of mine also, who is a student of mine now, she's a friend of mine, right? And we we're discussing that, you know, it's so amazing that the first color that Jonas saw in the book was the color red, because it's one of the most fundamental colors, right? It's the color of the blood, right? So eyes, seeing is an important sense, guys. We start seeing, when we start drawing, we see the picture. I see, again, in the book Giver, it's a book about this utopian community, and people have no color. They have no emotions. And there was a whole discussion I found online where they talk about, how come they don't see color? And other people were explaining that when people have no emotions, they see no color, guys. What does it mean having no emotions? Meaning all of your senses are dull, right? They're dulled out, right? So the sight is very important. We see, we react, right? We know when we do archetyping, I always say, even if you took the neurocolor, listen to your intuition first. What is your intuition telling you? Which color do you want to take, right? Very important, the sight, right? We see the picture, we react to the color, the nose, the smell. It's, let me get to the other ones, we'll get to the nose. Ears is the hearing, right? Hearing, we hear what somebody explains, or in our case, we hear when we, and there's a connection between hearing and talking, right? I often say we need to do the reflection process. Those of you in my courses, you know, I'm very big on reflection process. This is one of the major ways your body and your other senses, your other words processes all the transformation that you're undergoing when you do the Neurographica picture drawing. And the interesting part is that, yes, talk out loud. If you are able, if you're home by yourself, right, you're not in some, you know, park, even if you're in the park, I say talk out loud. Recite your reflections. You know, I feel my body sensation is my hand. My emotion is I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm angry, I am crying, I'm screaming, right? My thought is, why do I want this? Do I really need it? Is it something I want? Do I want a color red or blue color, right? Discuss it out loud. Why? Because then your sense of hearing is involved, guys. The sense of hearing is when we talk, right? When we talk, we create certain vibration. Like I said, the mouth is for tasting. And that's on the very first, again, newborn level, okay? As we grow up, right? We start understanding the mouth is for talking. We create vibrations, we create changes, we create transformation through our talking, through the words we say, and through the words we do. Okay, we do some words. Yes, words are not just for hearing or talking. Words are for doing. You know, they bring us to action. They're potential for an action. Okay, and when we talk out loud, we can say that now. You can hear the vibration. Look at this. I have a gong on my table, always next to me, right? Look at this. What happens? You hear a vibration, right? And this is an amazing vibration. I love doing this. My daughter, my youngest daughter, she comes in, she's like, every time she comes, like, Mama, let's do the gong. You know, she loves this vibration. She's very sensitive to this vibration, to this clearance, right? Right? Your soul. If I ask you, what do you feel when you hear the gong? You can't explain it to me, but your soul, you hear the vibration, you hear this reflective vibration within your soul. And that's the amazing part, right? Same thing here, guys. When you talk, give yourself a minute of silence afterwards, because then you will hear the vibration of your words and it will enter your ears and you will have a different processing, a different sensation that your body experiences. Okay. By the way, if I did not mention yet, but the bottom two parts or layers of the pyramid of consciousness, the active and the operational, have to do with our BODY, body, right? Those of you in the financial generation course, you know what I'm talking about, the body dynamics. We need to work with our body. I'm going to discuss why, okay, again. But this is important, okay? Allow your body to process all those wonderful mental transformation you're going through as you come to certain realization, as you start thinking, oh, I just realized I don't want a car. I actually wanted something else. I want to go traveling. Somebody told me, my husband or my mother or somebody at work told me, you know, you should get a car and start traveling here by a car. You would like it. And I started thinking, yeah, why not? And that became my topic, my goal. But I just realized I don't want a car. Guys, in order for your body, remember all those thoughts, all those, you know, processing, all those realizations, as I call them, reflections and insights, your body needs to process them. And the way we do it is through the five senses, the nose, okay? The nose, I must tell you, conventionally speaking, when we draw Neurographica, the nose is not involved, but we know nose is the smell. The sense of smell is one of the strongest. They say that the sense of smell that the human being possesses is still the same. The sight has changed over the years, over the ages, right? And we're talking about since the creation of the human being. The hearing has changed because we learned how to hear. We learned not to hear certain things, right? We learned to become, you know, hearing mute, right? We learned to become mute when it comes to talking. We are quiet. We're silent about certain things, right? It can be social silence, it can be personal silence. We sometimes tend to neglect and not talk to our inner child. We don't hear our inner child. We don't want to see. We often close our eyes and look the other way, or we get ourselves busy with TV, social media, so we don't see something, right? Touching, right? We'll learn how to kind of change the sense of touching, right? Nowadays, we're trying to go back to the original sense of touching, right? Giving it the original sensuality and sensibility. But the smell, they say the smell stayed the same, hasn't changed. People still have the same sense of smell like they did since the time of the creation, since a very, historical, anthropologically speaking, since the beginning of the times. And that's something to keep in mind, okay? So for those of you, I would highly recommend to do what I do. You can buy some essential oils. I have some of them here, right? I have lemon, I have Vitalife, orange here. I love using them, right? You can just take it, do it maybe after you do the drawing. Sometimes I put it on my drawing, but do it afterwards because sometimes, especially if the paper is thin, it gets wet and you can't draw. But here, I'm just going to put it on the best part is to put it on over here. Okay, like this on your wrist. Then you rub it together. Then you put it on your face and you will understand it much more than people before understood it. When I started doing this about 3-4 years ago, I had to explain and show the people how to put it on your face like a mask. Nowadays, we don't have to explain. We all know how to put it on our face as a mask, covering your nose. You know how they write it everywhere. Make sure your mask covers your nose and your mouth, right? Same thing here. Put it on your nose, put it on your face. You can hear by my voice when I'm covering, right? Cover your nose and your mouth. When you're breathing in, cover your nose. When you're breathing out, take your hands away and breathe out through your hand. You can do this meditation. I know people told me I need to record the meditation I do with the essential oils. By the way, if you don't have essential oils, just squirt some of your favorite perfume in the air before you start drawing. I promise you, it will put you in the right mood. Okay, it will put your mind at the right direction. And the direction is to go to the dry, right? And remember how I'm trying to show you that we can do the same thing, but in a different direction. You can go up. So what's the difference between the two pyramids, right? Let me just write here. This part would be the subconscious, right? Right, subconscious, right? And in this pyramid, the tip of the iceberg, the top will be the, the unconscious part, right? Where we are reaching the drive, the self, right? This is where we have the drive, the 5 elements, right? The universal fundamental structure. Again, we're going to talk more about it in our other sessions where we're going to meet up. But for now, I just wanted to show you the difference between these two pyramids, okay? This pyramid, you start on the top and you're going to the drive. This is the area. Why do we illustrate it? Most of the sessions, we illustrate the pyramid like this. Why? Because the goal here is to show you, look how big the drive is. Look how huge it is. And that's your goal, to get to this humongous, you see how I put a humongous circle here? This humongous circle of the drive. But if you look here, then you are looking at this at the realistic way we see the pyramid. Because realistically, we always start here, right? We always start at our body. We always start at the reality. Why body? Body is also reference to reality. Okay, I'm going to talk a bit more about the body when it comes to 5 senses, but just to give you an explanation, okay? Then we go into our subconscious, right? Where we're going to discuss our first will be individual subconscious, right? And then we're going to talk about collective subconscious, right? Collective subconscious, do you guys remember? It consists of egregors, right? Again, we're going to discuss each one separately, and archetypes, and myth. Archetypes and myth, right? Fairy tales, all that stuff. Okay. Again, discuss each separately, but I just want to show you. Okay. This is the next layer, the subconscious. First, we have the conscious, body, reality. Then we have the subconscious. What would the subconscious refer to if we're looking at it from the four worlds? Correct. This would refer to the emotional, right? Emotional is individual, right? Emotional is individual, right? Yes, we have people who are emotionally can be on the collective subconscious. We know there are people who are empathic. There are people who are, as people call them psychic, right? I like to call it empathic, right? But most of the time, the emotional world is very individual. You have your emotions, right? Unless you're an empathic person, like both me and my husband were very empathic. So I remember one moment we were studying this in details and everything, and my husband is into quantum touch, he's into body-based healing and everything like that. So at one moment, we're passing by the street and he stopped and he said, interesting. And he made a step forward and a step backward and, going again, backwards and forward. And he said, when I'm standing here, and we noticed that he was standing next to a certain building, a certain window was open, and he said, I was okay, we're coming from somebody's house, and he said, I was feeling upheaval, we're discussing how good it was, our visit and everything, how kids are playing together. And then in one moment, he said, I just felt this feeling of gloominess. And he said, the next step, that feeling of gloominess left. And he said, and I started, since he was paying attention to it, he's becoming conscious of his empathical, the influences of other people and everything on his emotional level. He stepped back and he went closer to the window and, not getting into the window, like a step, right? Still kind of far away, not getting into people's personal space, but, or privacy. But he said, when I step forward, I feel more gloominess. And he realizes he has an empathical understanding, empathical feeling from this window next door. Okay. And then, of course, he stepped forward and the gloominess went away again. And he came back fully to his previous feelings of, excitement and all that stuff. So that's interesting to know that emotional, most of the time people feel individually. But some people bring emotional to the collective subconscious, and those are the people whose collective subconscious is very much highly connected to the high mental world, right? The mental world, right? I call it, it's having the soul of what do you call that? The soul that is 100 years old, right? So to say, much more than that, actually, right? Because souls go through generations and generations. But that's what it is. The subconscious world, of course, refers to the emotional and the mental world. And of course, the very top world, the unconscious, refers to our soul, right? Refers to the drive and the 5 elements. And this is where we get the absolute drive, the absolute joy, right? This is where when I do the laughter therapy, right? Some of you saw it when we did the open sessions. When I do the laughter, when I do the happiness therapy, the whole Ho'oponopono program that I was talking about, when we get to the very last moment, is what it is: absolute joy, happiness. I call it getting to the soul. Dr. Jung called it self, right? We know that. What else? What else do you want to call it? You may have your own, right? Some people call it the paradise, right? If we go according to the Groff matrices, right? When he talked about every human being wanting to return to the paradise from which it was kind of kicked out, right? Right, the whole rebirthing experience, right? What else? You're welcome to write your own synonyms, your own ideas, your own way. How do you see this part that we're trying to always get, right? I have the word eternity here, and of course I have individuation, also a Jungian term, okay? So that's interesting to note, okay? From the realistic point of view, you can do the pyramid both ways, guys. You can take the pyramid and, might be an idea for the next 21 days of drawing. I'm thinking, I have so many ideas for the 21 days transformational practice that I'm thinking, We should do it every month. I really should, even in addition to the other programs. I was thinking about the time, what I'm going to do, right? But definitely, I had an idea of doing the 21 days transformational drawing with the MAC cards, right? Amazing MAC cards that I have. I had such great idea. I was like, oh, we should definitely do it. Draw Neurographic every day combining it with the MAC cards, right? And wouldn't that be amazing to use a different practice, right? Now also combining the pyramid, right? And you can draw the pyramid two ways. You can go from higher up. That's a realistic way, guys. This is how you climb up, right? You're climbing up the mountain, right? But also you can look at it from the point of your soul. And then your soul is the one that's occupying the biggest space, right? And you are right here and you're saying, I need to get here. And those of you who know what I'm talking about, when you do hiking, climbing is very, very, it's hard. Sometimes climbing is hard. But once you climb up, you are so energized and you're full of it. You're like, I'm on the top of the world. And sometimes, and you should be screaming and, expressing your joy, guys, because when you climb up, when you do the hiking, right, you are striving to get here. And then the reality kicks in, at which point you understand you need to climb down. And you guys may know what I'm talking about. Climbing down is often much, much harder. Why? For many different reasons. I can give you a psychological reason, because it's hard to come back to reality. It's great to be up here on top of the mountain, to see the world from the bird's view, right? Bird's eye view, right? To start understanding that maybe when you're on top here, you start seeing your pathways differently. You start understanding that in order to get from A to B, you don't have to go around. There is a shortcut. But to actually get down from reality, to reality, and say, I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to do the shortcut, because we know sometimes shortcuts. And how do we know it? Remember when I talked about the myth and the legends, all those myths and legends about the shortcut being dangerous and everything. So we know that sometimes shortcuts, and that's in our mind, that's in our subconscious, collective subconscious, by the way, right? So sometimes coming down is much harder, because you need to come down to reality. But the same thing here. Sometimes we understand, and this is the reason why I bring it here, right? This is the reason why we use this in the basics course, right? That yes, reality is important, but your goal is to important how to get down and get to this important part, this drive. And I want to bring you the combination, the consolidation of both. The idea is to bring the drive to the realistic, to the earth, to your physical space, to your physical world, to yourself, to your body, to your family, to your community, right? Isn't that the main point? Because it's very easy to go up to the drive. I'm going to tell you now, very easy. I'm a very spiritual person. At one point I said, if it would be up to me, seriously, I would just live in a monastery doing meditation. I would live in a, like a learning theological, seminary, learning the Bible, the Torah, and not coming out. I seriously would do that. But you know what? I guess that's why my soul chose me as a woman. I have a reality. I need to come back. I have a family to take care of. I need to live my life. And I had this astrological session with one of my very close friends. She's an amazing astrologer. And she told me, your destiny is to teach others. You have so many knowledge. She says, it's within you. What you are learning in this world, you're discovering it within your soul. And she said, the reason you came back to this world is to bring it to others, share it with the world, with other people. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, we need to come down to reality. But when you come down to reality, why don't you do me a favor and combine these two pyramids? Bring your drive, bring your absolute joy, your happiness, yourself, whatever else names you have here, your paradise, bring it to the reality, bring it to the world around you, okay? Just a few more words about the five senses, why I mentioned, by the way, the newborn development, right? Guys, every time we are experiencing the world, especially on the sense of the newborn. Things are happening in clusters and things happen in dualities, right? We're going to discuss this more when I do the duality session, the part is part of the psychology of money. But think about it, the baby, what does it do the whole day? It either sleeps or it's awake. There's no middle, right? There's no playing. There's no, like my daughter likes to do, hiding under the covers and reading a book when I tell her to go to sleep, right? There's no, middle ground. Everything is, black and white. That's actually exactly what it is, right? When we give them that contrast in the eye, the sight development for the newborn, it's very important to see contrast because this is how they operate in the world. Everything is contrastal to them, black to white, and then also red because it's very strong color. And if we don't think about it metaphysically, red is the color of the blood, right? Red is life. It's also bringing the newborn to the realistic way of living, right? Nose. Nose, the smell, the sense of smell, right? The smelling, the baby needs to smell the mother, this whole, nursing, breastfeeding, thing where they smell each other, right? This sense of smell that has closely to do with the sense of touch. Okay. And again, hearing and tasting. Okay. Tasting, of course, we understand is the food, eating, connection with the touch, all the senses at the newborn level, all the senses really intercept. And of course, the hearing, the hearing even in the womb, right, according to many researchers, and of course the hearing when the baby is born. So my point here is that whenever the baby experiences something, let's say the baby is crying, the mother is not able to come up right away, the mother is not able to pick up right away, whatever the issue is, whether it's feeding is not able to do right away or changing, we're just paying attention, right? Babies need attention. Sometimes they cry. We don't always understand. It's not feeding. We know it's not the diaper change. It's just something. This baby needs attention. But the mother, she has something called reality. She cannot always 100% come, right? Sometimes she can, but most of the time it's not realistic. And then the baby starts experiencing something that we call stress or trauma, right? Trauma is a very, scary word for many people. I'm trying, as I'm saying it, to make it less scary, make it more understanding that this is, how our body processes. This is where I'm bringing the body. Whenever the child has stress, oh, mommy is not picking me up right away. What's happening here? Am I not important enough? And at that moment, the baby experiences some kind of stress. And if that stress, let's say if the mother picks up at that moment that the baby is like, oh no, she loves me, I'm here again. But sometimes that doesn't happen. And the baby will cry and cry. And within the body, within the muscles, that reflection, that stress, that trauma will be hidden. Because the baby cannot express. Whenever the mother, let's say, pick up, she won't say, what was happening, my dear? You can't say, hey, why didn't you come? I was waiting and waiting for you. Baby cannot express. So the baby kind of regresses or represses, that feeling, that trauma, that stress. And first it gets repressed, of course, on the mental level, right? It goes into our individual subconscious, right? And then, of course, it definitely becomes repressed on the body level. It becomes a part of the muscles, right? And that's why certain moments, certain muscles, that whole development of the baby, sometimes the baby is late developing. That's what was main part of my work. I worked with kids. I did evaluations, figuring out whether the children need special education or not, right? And that was my part, to figure out what's happening, how delayed the child is, okay? Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring to you that. That's why it's so important to work with your body. That's why it's so important why I'm incorporating the body dynamics into the work of, into the financial regeneration, the psychology of money. We need to start understanding where is that regression, where is that repression, and what do we have to do to transform them and start the transformation, okay? I am done. I'm 59. I want to thank you for your attention, all of you. It was quite fundamental. I appreciate you joining me for today's session. I enjoyed teaching you. I enjoyed presenting to you. And of course, I enjoy learning from you guys. Welcome to put your comments. Welcome to write to me. I would love to hear what was your connection? What was your reflection? What was your reaction to today's session as we explored the pyramid of consciousness, the second layer, which was active consciousness. Again, hi, Passion Tulip. Hello, hello. So nice to see you. I'm looking forward to, I believe it's next Tuesday. I believe it will be next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Okay, I have cliental sessions in the morning, but 12 p.m. I'm looking forward to connect to you about the third layer. I'm going to start going into our subconscious. Yes, thank you for joining me, dear Passion Tulip. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. It was such a pleasure. Looking forward to connecting with you more. Other courses, those of you interested, PM me. The basics course is coming up on Sunday. It's an amazing, amazing course you do not want to miss, okay? Goodbye, goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.